In the summer of 1970, under the blazing Mexican sun, the Brazilian national team thrilled fans around the world, writing an incredible journey at the World Cup. It was the first tournament to be televised in color, and the yellow and blue of the Seleção shirts seemed more brilliant than ever. With a generation of talented players dubbed the Beautiful Team, they displayed a fiery, artistic style of play, transforming football into a true art form, where the concept of Jogo Bonito, beautiful football, was perfectly redefined. Not only did they achieve the ultimate success of the Jules Rimet Cup, but they also became an unforgettable part of the memories of all mankind. But behind those glorious moments on the field were players with very different fates. More than 50 years have passed. Time has carved different traces on their lives. Some became kings, some became doctors, some lived in seclusion, and some had to stop their journey in sudden tragedy. Let's look back at the ups and downs of the players who made up the soul of that golden generation. Pele, Edson Arantes do Nascimento, at 29, took on the role of striker and attacking midfielder in the Brazilian squad of 1970. After the trauma of the 1966 World Cup, he returned with the maturity, courage, and influence of a true master. He no longer ran as much as he did in his youth, but every touch of the ball opened up sharp opportunities. Every pass was decisive. With 4 goals and a series of assists, especially the eyes in the back pass to Carlos Alberto in the final, Pele proved himself to be the soul, the greatest conductor of Brazil 1970, intelligent, sophisticated, and superior in class. Away from the limelight of Mexico, Pele's career and life continued to be a series of global events. He didn't just play football, he brought it to new lands. His move to the New York Cosmos in the 1970s sowed the seeds of a love of soccer in the United States. After retiring, the King of Soccer became a goodwill ambassador, a Brazilian minister of sports, and the face of countless brands. He lived a life always in the spotlight, busy with social activities and preserving his own legacy. Despite many marriages and health and family struggles, he always maintained his signature radiant smile, a symbol of the joy of soccer. What is worth pondering is the similarity between Pele on the field and Pele off the field. On the field, he was the center of every ball. Off the field, he was the center of global attention. He was born to be a star that would never fade, a man who shouldered the expectations of an entire nation. However, the journey of a king must also come to an end. After many years of fighting cancer, on December 29, 2022, King of Football Pele breathed his last at the age of 82. His passing made the whole world bow, but his legacy is immortal. He was not just a player, he was football. Carlos Alberto Torres, right back and captain of Brazil in 1970, at the age of 25 became a symbol of exemplary and majestic defense. If Pele was the soul of the team, Carlos Alberto was the heart and the authoritative voice, always playing with poise and confidence. Not only was he solid in defense, he also often went up to attack like a true winger. The moment that immortalized his name was the thunderbolt shot against Italy in the final. Considered the most beautiful goal in World Cup history, the perfect crystallization of the legendary collective play of Brazil 1970. After his peak in 1970, Carlos Alberto continued to enjoy success with Santos and later reunited with Pele at the New York Cosmos. When he retired, he turned to coaching and achieved some success, leading Flamengo to the national championship. He also became an astute commentator, known for his outspoken, confrontational personality, just like the way he played on the field. His life was tied to football until the last moment, always a spiritual leader for the younger generations. The image of the Capita on the field came into his life in a strange way. He was always a leader, a person who dared to speak, to act, and to demand perfection. However, that strong heart stopped beating too suddenly. On October 25, 2016, Carlos Alberto passed away from a heart attack at the age of 72. The great captain was gone, but the image of him kissing the Golden Goddess trophy is forever a symbol of victory. Jairzinho, Jair Ventura Filho, at the age of 25, was a symbol of power and explosiveness in the Brazilian squad at the 1970 World Cup. Nicknamed the Storm, he created an unprecedented record by scoring in all the matches Brazil participated in, with a total of 7 goals in 6 matches. Possessing terrifying speed and abundant physical strength, Jairzinho was like a tank sweeping the right wing, constantly putting pressure and spreading terror to every opposing defense. After that tournament of his life, Jairzinho continued his adventures through many clubs in France, Venezuela, and Bolivia. After retiring, he made a contribution even greater than goals. It was his blue eyes that discovered the talent of alien Ronaldo de Lima when the boy was only 14 years old, opening a new era for Brazilian football. Jairzinho's life is quite quiet compared to his teammates. He focuses on youth training and sometimes appears at commemorative events. Between the pitch and life, Jairzinho is an interesting transition. On the pitch, he is fierce and loud like a storm. But off the pitch, he is a quiet teacher, quietly nurturing the future. Today, at the age of 70, Jairzinho is still alive and well, and continues to be a living witness, a monument telling heroic stories of the past to the younger generation. Tostão, Eduardo Gonçalves de Andrade, at 23, was a genius paradox in the 1970 Brazil squad. Although he played as a striker, he did not rely on strength but on intelligence and subtle movement to become the earliest example of the false nine role. Tostão's wide runs constantly stretched the opposition defense, opening up space for Pele and Jairzinho to shine. What made him even more remarkable was that he played the entire tournament with one eye having just undergone surgery for a detached retina, accepting the risk of losing his sight to contribute to the national team. Tostão's tragedy and fortune came early. Just 3 years after his World Cup glory, at the age of 26, he was forced to retire due to a recurring eye injury. But this was when he wrote another extraordinary story. Tostão entered medical school, became a doctor, and lived in seclusion, rejecting all football limelight for decades. He later returned as one of Brazil's most insightful and intellectual football commentators and journalists. The connection between his role on the field and his life is clear: wisdom. On the field, he uses his mind to play football, and off the field, he uses his mind to heal and write. Today, Tostão is enjoying his old age, respected not only as a football legend, but also as a great intellectual, a philosopher of football with a sharp pen. Rivellino, Roberto Rivellino, at the age of 24, was the source of power and brilliance on the left flank of Brazil 1970. Possessing an atomic left foot and the famous elastico dribbling, he always created breakthroughs with thunderous free kicks and precise long passes down to the millimeter. The image of a bushy mustache and the characteristic technical style of play made Rivellino a special symbol of the golden generation of 1970, and even a source of inspiration for Diego Maradona himself later. Rivellino's career continued to flourish after 1970 at Corinthians and Fluminense, then moved to Saudi Arabia to retire, where he was considered a football saint. After hanging up his boots, he became a beloved television commentator in Brazil. His life was always filled with laughter and respect from his colleagues. He was the keeper of the concept of beautiful football, always criticizing pragmatic and violent playing styles. The image of a romantic artist on the field completely coincides with a gallant, elegant, and passionate Rivellino in football art in everyday life. Today, Rivellino is still alive and well, regularly appearing on television, and his elastico is still the first lesson for every Brazilian child who wants to play football. Gerson de Oliveira Nunes, at 29, was the brain of the 1970 Brazil team. If Pele was king, then Gerson was the man who set the tempo and regulated every move of the team. Possessing a tenacious left foot and a masterful ability to control the game, he decided when Brazil should attack or defend. Gerson's goal to make it 2-1 in the final became the decisive turning point. A cool and absolutely accurate long-range shot that demonstrated his crucial influence on the team's play. After his glory, Gerson continued to be a midfield boss at domestic clubs. However, his life was also involved in a famous controversy in Brazil called Gerson Law, originating from a cigarette commercial he participated in, with the message of liking to take shortcuts to gain benefits. This took him many years to explain that he always promoted integrity. After retiring, he became a famous radio commentator. His clear voice and straightforward personality still control the programs as he controlled the matches. A brain on the pitch and a sharp mouth on the radio, Gerson has always been one to control the game his own way. Currently, Gerson still lives in Rio de Janeiro. Although his health has declined with age, the fighting spirit and sharp thinking of the golden left foot have never faded. Felix Miele Venerando, at 32, was the quiet but extremely important goalkeeper of Brazil 1970. Although often underestimated in a team full of attacking stars, Felix, with his slim physique but quick reflexes, made some amazing saves, most notably the one to block Lee's England header, keeping the team's spirit up. He was the silent stopper, taking the most pressure, but still ensuring the safety of the whole team. After the World Cup, Felix was not as sought after as his teammates. He retired and lived a rather difficult life, working as a salesman and commercial director to make a living. He always carried sadness in his heart because he felt that his efforts were not recognized properly. However, he was still a devoted father and husband, living an honest and simple life. Felix's fate seems to be the opposite of the glory of the football field. A world champion struggling to make a living, a silent hero always fighting for recognition. But that struggle has stopped. Felix died on August 24, 2012, of emphysema. His passing finally made Brazilians recognize and honor the true value of the hands that once held the World Cup dream. Clodoaldo Tavares de Santana, at 20, was the youngest player in the 1970 Brazil squad, acting as a quiet cleaner so that his seniors could shine. However, his moment of life was a spectacular dribble past 4 Italian players right in his own half, opening the way for the goal that sealed the 4-1 victory. This move was the perfect combination of defensive strength and samba-spirited improvisation, demonstrating the typical personality of Clodoaldo. Clodoaldo's entire career was spent at Santos. After retiring, he continued to contribute to the team in the roles of manager and technical director. He lived a stable life, away from scandal, and was respected as a gentleman of football. Clodoaldo's composure and sureness on the pitch at the age of 20 carried over into his life, a career and lifestyle that was solid, loyal, and trustworthy. Today, Clodoaldo remains a prominent figure in Santos, a symbol of loyalty and devotion. Everaldo Marques da Silva, at 25, was a solid and reliable left-back for Brazil in 1970, balancing Carlos Alberto's attacking play on the opposite flank. His style of play was simple yet fierce and extremely effective, providing stability to the defense. The golden star on the Grêmio club crest today is in honor of Everaldo, the club's first World Cup winner. Everaldo was at the peak of his career, considered the best left-back in Brazil at the time, and had begun his political career in an attempt to help the impoverished community in which he was born. His future seemed to be filled with promise of both sporting fame and social status. Solidity on the pitch promises a solid life. However, tragedy struck most brutally. On October 27, 1974, when his car was involved in a terrible accident, Everaldo died instantly along with his wife and daughter. He passed away at the age of 30, leaving behind a state of utter shock. The star was extinguished when he was at his most brilliant, leaving an inconsolable pain in the hearts of Grêmio and Brazilian fans. Hercules Brito Ruas, 30, was a solid center-back and considered the rock of Brazil 1970. With a strong and physical style of play, Brito took on the tough and aggressive tasks that were essential to stopping the opposition in a team full of artists. He was the one who did the ugly but important work, allowing his teammates to shine on the pitch. After retiring, Brito retreated to a rather private life. He did not participate much in the media or high-level training, but chose to live a simple life in Rio de Janeiro. He was satisfied with what he had contributed and rarely appeared in public. His toughness and coolness on the field seemed to reflect his way of dealing with fame, decisively leaving it behind to find peace. Currently, Brito still lives a peaceful old age, being one of the last living witnesses of the old steel defense line. Wilson Piazza, at 27, was a midfielder, but sacrificed his position to play center-back at the 1970 World Cup for the good of the Brazilian team. His adaptability and sacrifice helped Brazil possess a solid defense that was also good at playing with the ball at the feet, becoming an effective starting point for attacks from home. After his illustrious career with Cruzeiro, Piazza became an active social activist. He entered politics, becoming president of the Professional Footballers Union, fighting for the rights and pensions of former players. He was a voice for his less fortunate colleagues. The person who knows how to sacrifice on the field has become a defender of others' rights in real life. Today, Piazza remains a respected figure in Brazilian sports management. Paulo Cesar Caju. At 20, was a strategic reserve for Brazil 1970, able to fill any position in the attack. With superb technique and an improvised, sometimes wild style of play, he brought a breath of fresh air and change to the team whenever he was put on the field. Caju's life was a roller coaster after that. He won many titles but also fell into a spiral of drug and alcohol addiction, which led to him selling his World Cup gold medal and a replica Jules Rimet trophy to pay off debts. He had a long fight to find himself again. His wildness on the pitch turned into a loss of control in real life, pushing him into the abyss before he found his way back. Today, after successfully rehabilitating his addiction, Paulo Cesar has become a commentator and a role model for young people, living a more peaceful life and finding peace. José de Anchieta Fontana, at 29, was a reserve center-back in the 1970 Brazil squad, renowned for his strong, hard-nosed style of play and his fearlessness in tackling. Although he only played one game, he was an important member of the Brazilian team, helping to maintain stability and balance. After retiring, Fontana lived a peaceful life with his family. He still maintained his passion for sports through amateur-friendly matches. But fate played a cruel trick on this steely defender. On September 9, 1980, during a fun football match with friends, Fontana collapsed from a heart attack and died at the age of 39. The Warrior's heart stopped beating right on the place he loved most, the football field. Roberto Lopes de Miranda, at the age of 26, was the main striker in the qualifying campaign, scoring the top goal to help Brazil qualify for the 1970 World Cup. However, when entering the tournament, Coach Zagallo made a bold tactical decision, sacrificing a typical striker like Roberto to use Tostao, a false nine, to optimize space for Pele. In Mexico, Roberto played in 2 matches, playing the role of a strategic card, like a whirlwind of physical strength thrown in when the opponent was tired. He was a silent hero, accepting to step back for the greater good without a word of complaint. Roberto's career was synonymous with the nickname Vendaval, the Storm, at Botafogo. He was an idol of the black and white striped team, famous for his powerful long-range shots and fearless running. After the World Cup glory, Roberto continued to play at the top level for a few more years, before moving to Corinthians and smaller teams. Unlike the noise of the football world, Roberto chose to retire peacefully. He worked for the government on social projects, helping drug addicts reintegrate into society, a job that required great patience and compassion. There is an interesting contrast between Roberto on the pitch and off. On the pitch, he is the Storm, who destroys the opposing defense with his strength. But off the pitch, he is a warm breeze, healing the emotional wounds of the unfortunate. Today, Roberto Miranda lives a quiet life, away from the spotlight. He is still revered by Botafogo fans as a living legend, a testament to the great sacrifice of the golden generation. Edu Jonas Eduardo Americo, at the age of 20, was a true prodigy of Brazilian football. He was called up to the national team for the 1966 World Cup at the age of 16, and by 1970, he had become a seasoned world champion despite being a substitute, possessing excellent individual technique. Edu was likened to a circus performer with the ball. Although he could not compete for the official position with the excellent Rivellino, every time he was put on the field, as in the match against Romania, he made the stands excited with his skillful dribbling, teasing the opposing defenders. As Pele's true disciple at Santos, Edu's career was brilliant in the colors of this club. He devoted almost all of his youth to Santos, winning countless domestic titles. After hanging up his boots, Edu never left the ball. He opened football training schools, organized international summer camps, and taught the Jogo Bonito spirit to children around the world. He always kept a bright smile and a lively demeanor, just like the young man who used to dance on the wing. The connection between Edu the player and Edu in real life is joy. On the field, he plays football to find joy. Off the field, he uses football to bring joy to children. Today, Edu is still healthy and active. He regularly appears in charity matches for the Brazilian veterans team, and those magical legs seem to have no desire to rest. Dada Maravilha, Dario José dos Santos, at 24, is a unique figure in the history of Brazilian football. He does not possess the superlative technique of Pele or Tostao, and is even criticized for being clumsy. But he has a deadly weapon, the ability to jump and stop in the air like a helicopter. He himself once proudly declared, "There are only 3 things that can stop in the air: hummingbirds, helicopters, and Dada." At the 1970 World Cup, Dada did not play a single minute, but his presence brought endless positive energy thanks to his humorous and optimistic personality. After the tournament, Dada became a legendary goal scorer for Atlético Mineiro and Brazilian football in general, scoring over 900 goals in his career. He was known for his outrageous statements, eccentric celebrations, and charming overconfidence. After retiring, Dada used his eloquence to become a TV commentator and in-demand entertainment star, turning his life into a comedy stage where he was a beloved main actor. The image of a floating and noisy Dada on the pitch has been applied perfectly to his life. He lives a liberal, brilliant life and always knows how to make others mention his name. Today, Dada Maravilha remains a familiar face on Brazilian television, a jovial old man who recounts his glorious, sometimes exaggerated, exploits with a hearty laugh. Emerson Leao, at 20, was Brazil's youngest goalkeeper and second choice behind Felix at the 1970 World Cup. Although he did not play a single minute in Mexico, training with the legends helped to shape him into one of the greatest goalkeepers in Brazilian history. Leao was known for his fearless tackling style, cat-like reflexes, and fiery temper, accompanied by iron discipline. After winning the World Cup, Leao became Brazil's #1 goalkeeper at the 1974 and 1978 World Cups. He became a legend at Palmeiras. But Leao's greatest legacy lies in his later coaching career. He led Santos, São Paulo, and the Brazilian national team. His coaching style was extremely militaristic, strict and not afraid to clash with the stars. He was a man who demanded perfection and absolute professionalism, sometimes to the extreme. The latent fierceness of the young goalkeeper in 1970 exploded into a thorny personality in real life. Leao was always the one in charge, a difficult general who always wanted to control everything within his reach. Today, Leao has stepped away from the coaching bench, enjoying a rural life on his farm. But whenever he speaks out about Brazilian football, experts still listen with respect and a bit of reserve. José Maria Rodrigues Alves, at the age of 21, went to the 1970 World Cup as a backup to captain Carlos Alberto. Possessing a strong physique and impressive demeanor, he was nicknamed Super Zé. Although he did not have much opportunity to show his talent at Mexico 70 because of the great shadow of the captain, Zé Maria was not discouraged, considering this experience a valuable lesson to hone himself. Zé Maria's career was linked to Corinthians, where he became a symbol of loyalty and tireless fighting spirit. He was a key figure in the Corinthian democracy movement in the early 1980s, fighting together with Socrates for players' rights and the democratization of football during the dictatorship. This shows that Zé Maria was not just a winger, but a man with great ideas and social responsibility. The iron lungs tenacity and resilience on the pitch reflects a strong will in life. He is a man who always runs non-stop, whether to cross the ball or to fight for what is right. Currently, Zé Maria works at the Fundação Casa prison, where he teaches football and character education to troubled youth. He continues to run on a new journey, the journey of sowing seeds of goodness. Joel Camargo, at 23, was a dashing center-back for Santos, distinguished by his poise, head held high and rare use of rough tackles. At the 1970 World Cup, he was a quality backup to the central defense pairing of Brito and Piazza. Although he did not play a single minute, the World Cup gold medal was the crowning glory of this promising young man's career. Returning from Mexico, Joel's future seemed to be full of roses, but fate dealt a cruel blow. Just a year later, in 1971, a serious car accident occurred while Joel was driving. The accident did not take his life at that time, but killed 2 women traveling with him and left him with permanent psychological and physical injuries. His peak career went downhill. Haunted by guilt and pain, Joel slid into alcohol and drug addiction, gradually selling off his glorious mementos, living in loneliness and poverty. The glamorous and elegant life on the field is in complete contrast to the withered and tragic life behind the wheel. One mistake, one fateful moment broke a person's life. And then, that painful journey ended. On May 23, 2014, just a few weeks before the World Cup returned to Brazil, Joel Camargo passed away from kidney failure at the age of 67. He passed away quietly, in complete contrast to the resounding cheers of the Azteca Stadium that year, leaving a sad note in the epic of 1970. Eduardo Roberto Stingen, at the age of 23, was the 3rd goalkeeper of the Brazilian team at the 1970 World Cup, a young man from Corinthians with a handsome face and a modern style of ball catching. His call-up to the Seleção squad was an important recognition of his talent. Although he only played as a substitute and did not play, the experience gained from this historic trip was invaluable to Ado's career. After the World Cup, Ado continued to be a reliable stopper for Corinthians for several years. However, wrist and shoulder injuries did not last as long as expected. He retired quite early and turned to business and education. Ado opened soccer schools in Sao Paulo, focusing on teaching life skills to children through sport. He chose a private life, away from the controversies of the soccer world. The composure of a goalkeeper has helped Ado make steady moves in his post-football life. He has not let the past glory blind him, but has used it as a foundation to build his future. Today, Ado lives a comfortable, happy life with his family. He is proof that World Cup glory may be just one chapter, but it is not the whole story of life.